Hello, this is John Paval with the Access Arts Live weekly roundup of big stage productions. Things like orchestras, big dance shows, ballet, operas, and we have a goodly number of live streams to talk about for you this week, November 25th until the 1st of December. So let me get right to it. You never know when something that happens a first time, whether it will happen again or what will become of it. But Wednesday, November 27th, the Gulbenkian Foundation in Lisbon, which sponsors the Gulbenkian Symphony Orchestra, which regularly is live streaming quality concerts. The Gulbenkian Foundation will be live streaming the award ceremony for its very ambitious Salavisa European Dance Award, which it launched earlier this year. They're down to 5 contestants who are dancers, choreographers, all. We will we'll give you their names, and we'll put in the description section the links to each of their websites, so you can check them out and decide whether or not you want to see them perform in the finals. Now, to begin the evening, they will also be doing a performance of Le Chef d'Orchestra, the orchestra conductor, ballet, by Paulo Ribeiro, which performed by the Compañía Nacional de Ballado. And this was a work which Ribeiro dedicated to Jorge Salavisa, after whom this awards competition is named. And for a long time, from 1977 until 1996, for almost 20 years, Jorge Salavisa was dancer and artistic director of the Gulbenkian Ballet. So that's how that came to be. The 5 dancer choreographers are Bushra Ouizguine from Morocco, Catarina Miranda from Portugal, Dalila Belatza from France and Algeria, Dorothée Munyanetsa from Rwanda, the UK, and France, we're told, and Idio Chichava from Mozambique. The winner will receive 150,000 euros, which is nothing to sneeze at, and then have opportunities to perform with or at a list of dance companies and halls across Europe, which includes Impulse Tanz, the Vienna International Dance Festival, the Danse Halerna in Denmark, the Maison de la Danse in France, Joint Adventures in Germany, and the very well-known Sadler's Wells in the UK. So who knows? If you're a real dyed-in-the-wool dance fan, maybe 20 years from now, you'll be having coffee with somebody and they'll mention the Salavisa Awards. And you say, oh, I saw the very first one. It was live streamed, I heard it, and maybe you'll even add in, I heard about it from, that Access Arts Live thing, which became, which is now the word for how you find live streams or anything of the performing arts. Anyway, that's what you have on Wednesday night. But Thursday evening in Europe, November 28th, and daytime in the US, Nordic Beauty, as they call it, will be on display in yet another of these great free live streams from the Royal Stockholm Philharmonic. It's on their website, but they also have an app, and we're going to give you the link to the app so you can download the app and watch this stuff on your phone if you want. Now, they'll be performing Sibelius, Mullrad, and Wiklund. Now, you probably know Sibelius. You might know Mullrad. I don't know if you're going to know Wiklund, but I will tell you about them, and you'll have a chance to discover them free of charge this Thursday. That'll be at 6 o'clock European time. They do concerts early here in Stockholm, which is where I am these months. And that's noon on the East Coast and 9 in the morning on the West Coast. The first piece they'll be doing is Adolf Wiklund's Piano Concerto No. 1, composed in 1906. Wiklund was right up there with other people like Steinhammer and Grieg in his time, but it has not survived as well known as others. But in Sweden and in Nordic countries, he's known as one of the top composers of piano concertos. He was a pianist and a conductor himself. And in fact, he was the conductor of the Royal Stockholm Philharmonic. Well, he was their second conductor from 1925 to 1938. So that's what they'll be starting out with Magnus Svensson on the piano. Then after the break, they'll come back and they'll do a contemporary piece composed by an active composer in Sweden whose name is Jakob Myrrad, called Resil 1. This is 8 minutes long, and it's already been performed. The world premiere was already done in the chamber music version by the Swedish Chamber Orchestra, and now this is the world premiere of the orchestral version. So this is your first chance to feast your ears on it. Then they'll conclude with the most popular of Jean Sibelius' symphony, Symphony Number 5. This is the symphony that came out of an incident where Sibelius saw 16 swans flying off out there in Finland, wherever he was in Finland, and he was just transformed by it. He called it, quote, one of the great experiences of my life. My God, what beauty. Although I'm sure he said that in Finnish, which is incomprehensible to anybody but Finns, and maybe a little bit to Hungarians. Anyway, so that became the theme of the final movement, and he built the whole symphony around it. The conductor is a Latvian guy, Avis Greitas, Aivis. He's young, but he's no slouch. He's about 7 years out from having finished his initial studies of conducting in terms of school, but then he did workshops and things. He studied for 4 years at the Latvian Academy of Music, and then he did a couple of years at the Royal College of Music in Stockholm, which may explain why he's already conducted this symphony a couple of times. He's the assistant conductor at the Gothenburg or Göteborg Opera House in Sweden, and he's also the assistant conductor at the Orchestra de Paris. So he's moving along, and he's in that stage where he's doing a lot of debuts with orchestras like the Norwegian Radio Orchestra, the Deutsche Symphony Orchestra in Berlin, the Bamberger Symphony, and that sort of thing. As for the pianist, Magnus Svensson, well, they say he performs, in Sweden and internationally, but he's the sort of guy, and by the way, we'll give you the link to the website for the conductor. Magnus Svensson, he doesn't even have a website of his own, and he's really more of an accompanist than a lead pianist. I mean, he's sort of retiring, and his specialty is leader, and he is the artistic director for the Royal Stockholm Phil's series of concerts of leaders. So that's who you have for that. Now, I can tell you from experience, the Stockholm Royal Phil is excellent. I'm likely to be on the scene myself because I live in Stockholm, and I walk out the door and it's 7 metro stops away from where I live. And I can leave at a quarter to 15 minutes before the concert and be in my seat in time. I may do, I've done in the past, I may do an introductory live stream on the steps of the concert hall. And if it feels right, I may interview some members of the audience do a live stream interviewing audience members during the intermission, and then do a wrap up after the concert because, well, why not? I'm here, they're here. So watch this space to see any notices about whether or not I'm doing that this Thursday evening. It's a lot of fun. People tell me they enjoy it. Friday, November 29th, there are a couple of live streams which are a little unusual for what we usually tell you about. So let me tell you about them in one fell swoop. First, all right, Friday, 29th of November, 7 in the evening, Moscow time, which is 5 o'clock European time, 11 in the morning on the East Coast, 8 in the morning on the West Coast. If you really want to, the song and dance ensemble of the National Guard of the Federation of Russia is doing a show, and it's live streamed on the Moscow Philharmonic website, and possibly also on their YouTube channel, although I'm not sure of that. Usually these things are also live streamed there. They don't tell us what they're going to be dancing. And I have this image in my mind of that Russian dance where they kick their feet up, but I don't know if they're going to do that. So that's to start out your evening on Friday, though, some Russian song and dance. All right. And then if you want to keep at it, though, at 8 o'clock European time, at 2 o'clock on the East Coast, and 11 in the morning on the West Coast, the WDR Funkhausorchester is doing a concert called On the Run. It's the orchestra's playing German TV hits in concert. So that could be Tatort or Traumschiff or Liedenstrasse or Schwarzwald Clinic even. So if you're a fan of German television, a cabaret artist and musician named Martin Zingsheim will be leading the orchestra through this fun concert. It's live from the Funkhaus Wallrafplatz in Cologne or Köln, Germany. And yes, WDR Funkhausorchester means the Köln or Cologne Funkhausorchester. It's their Pops orchestra. This would be like the Cologne version of the Boston Pops, except it's not the Boston Pops, it's the Cologne Pops. Okay, so that's for Friday night. Now, you may be wondering, John, what happened to all these other orchestral live streams that we usually find out about on Fridays? And the answer is, I don't know. The Sao Paulo Symphony Orchestra could be live streaming on Friday. They're doing a concert on Friday. I have searched their website. I cannot find anything to indicate whether it's live streamed or not. There are several other orchestras like that. There's the Frankfurt Radio Symphony. There's the another symphony in Hanover, and I can't tell if they're live streaming on Friday or not. I can tell you that some of the usual, sometimes opera websites, they're just not live streaming this weekend at all. And some of the other symphonies like the Bergen Phil, the London Symphony, Detroit, Boston, Cincinnati, they're not live streaming this weekend or this week or weekend either. So that's what you got for Friday night. But there's chamber music going on all week long. So tomorrow I'll be doing a live stream probably, or Wednesday, about all the chamber music going on this week, and there's loads of it. Okay, so we move on to two more concerts, both of them on Sunday. Saturday night in the United States and Sunday down under in Australia, the Australian Haydn Ensemble will be live streaming an early music cornucopia for you if you consider that Haydn, Mozart, and Van Hal, whom you may not even have heard of, are early music, and many people do. This will be live streamed on the Australian Digital Concert Hall, so it won't be free of charge. It will cost you something. Everything on the Australian Digital Concert Hall costs 25 Australian dollars or $16.50 US dollars or 15 euros. Before you turn off listening about this, though, they'll be streaming live from the City Recital Hall in Sydney, Australia. It's at 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday, Australian Eastern Daylight Time. Now, that's 6 in the morning in Europe, but it's midnight on the East Coast, 11 o'clock in Chicago, 10 o'clock in the Mountain States, and 9 o'clock in the evening, prime time, on the West Coast. The U.S. going off of daylight savings time and Australia going onto it, the same thing with New Zealand, has made many of these concerts going on down under, which are really worth hearing, in a time where it's prime time in parts of the U.S. or just late at night in other parts. So the director of this ensemble, of the Haydn ensemble, is Skye McIntosh. And there's a great picture of her. She's a violinist, and she has bounced up and back between Australia and Europe. She was in Europe for a number of years in the 2000s, playing with different early music ensembles, and then she was back in Australia. And so she is. This is a period that she's familiar with. So I think she knows what she's doing. And they will be doing. They'll be doing some music you may not know. So it might be worth tuning in just for that if you're an enthusiast of this time period. They're going to do Mozart Symphony Number 29 in A major, which If you know this kind of music, you know that. And then they'll be doing Mozart's Violin Concerto number 3 in G major, Kerschel 216, which that's the one. It has a very famous adagio, which you can find clips of all over the place on social media. People like Itzhak Perlman playing it. People really like it. And then they will be they'll be doing Haydn's Symphony number 49 in F minor, the La Passion. And the piece they'll be doing that you may not know is Van Hal's Symphony in G minor, which is categorized not under Kerschel numbers or opus numbers, but Brian G1, which I'm not terribly familiar with. Van Hal was admired by both Mozart and Haydn. They talked about him. And he was a self-made man. He started life as a serf, literally a serf, bound to the land, and then got freed up and ended up becoming a very successful composer. So in case you want to know about Van Hal's music, or if you're a lover of Mozart and Haydn, you wonder, well, what do they make of them down under? This is your chance to find out and have a good time. We have, I think, 2 more concerts to tell you about, yes. And both of them are solidly on Sunday, 2 very different live stream offers. Sunday afternoon, the Cleveland Orchestra is doing a concert that you could call God Bless America, Land That I Love. They're playing Gershwin, they're playing Duke Ellington, and they're playing Aaron Copland. I mean, you couldn't come up with a concert program more American than that. So if you're, as the Swedes would say, are du sugen för amerikanska musik? Do you have a craving for American music? Well, here it is. And on top of that, they're having a superstar pianist come in to play with them, Marc-Andre Hamelin, whose name always makes me think of the Pied Piper who came from Hamelin. And he is kind of a Pied Piper because if you're a piano enthusiast, I don't have to tell you who Marc-Andre Hamelin is. But I will tell you a little bit about it later as we get going, for those of you who don't know about it, because one purpose of doing all this is for people who don't ordinarily follow the performing arts to get it exposed to you. So you can just click and go. You don't have to spend 20, 30, 40 bucks or euros to go to a concert hall. If you haven't been to one before, you can just go, online. Now, the thing is, and if you had been following Access Arts Live, you would already have seen a couple of live streams of Marc Hamelin just this fall, because we told you about him playing Chopin in a free of charge live stream at the Chopin Institute in September. And we told you just last Friday that he was playing Mozart with the Sao Paulo Orchestra down in Brazil. That was a free of charge live stream. This one you're going to have to pay for because the Cleveland Orchestra has decided to make a deal with Stage Plus, the Deutsche Grammophon label live streaming service. So it will cost you €9.90 or $11 to listen in on this. Whereas, just by the way, the Detroit Symphony Orchestra live streams for free. 15 or 20 concerts a year. They've been doing it for a decade, but whatever. Anyway, so if you want to hear Marc Hamelin, this is it. Now, they'll start out with Copland's Appalachian Spring. They will finish with Copland's The Tender Land Orchestral Suite. And in between, in the first half of the program, Marc-Andre Hamelin will come on stage and play the heck out of, you can be sure, Rhapsody in Blue by Gershwin. And then after, as the first piece after the intermission, they'll be doing Duke Ellington's New World A-Comin'. Yeah, I forgot. Did I mention that they were doing nuclear? I think I did at the beginning opening. Okay, who's Marc-Andre Hamelin? For those of you who don't know, he's a Quebecois. He was born in Quebec, although I'm not sure he'd call himself that. But he's lived in Boston for many years, and he studied in the U.S. The New York Times has called him a, quote, performer of almost superhuman technical skill. And, like I'm saying, and if it was September, he's playing Chopin. If it's last week, he's playing Mozart. No, he's playing Gershwin. He'll just play anything, and he plays it all well. I mean, the guy's superb. Anyway, he's everywhere this year. He's also at Wigmore Hall in Hamburg at the Elbphilharmonie Orchestra Hall, Carnegie Hall. He's got a zillion recordings out. Won a Lifetime Achievement Award from the German Record Critics Association. I'm so sorry I don't have the name in German because I love pronouncing it when I have it. He's won 7 Juno Awards, which is the Canadian Grammy Award. He has 12 Grammy nominations. He's a Knight of the National Order of Quebec and a member of the Royal Society of Canada. I mean, if you do pony up with the €9.90, you will not be disappointed. This will be a fine concert and a lovely way to spend Sunday afternoon in the U.S. or Sunday evening. Let me make sure I've given you the times because I have a feeling I didn't. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Eastern Standard Time, noon on the West Coast, and 9 in the evening in Europe, which is a lovely time for a concert, don't you think? Yeah. Okay. So there's one last concert that I want to tell you about on Sunday. I mean, what's not to like about that Cleveland Orchestra concert? I'm sorry, I didn't wind it up right anyway. Advent in Europe is a big deal. One reason I'm in Stockholm for the months of November and December is because the end of the year festivities are so lavish. And it's not necessarily because people are religious, they just love the rituals and the traditions. And Müpa, which is the big concert hall in Budapest, Hungary, is no exception to this. This Sunday, December 1st, they will be live streaming an Advent concert. And it's they refer in the concert to it being about angelic Christmas music, and it is because it's the Angelica Girls Choir which will be performing. This is at 7:30 in the evening European time, 1:30 in the afternoon on the East Coast, 10:30 in the morning on the West Coast. It's free of charge on their website, and it may also be on their YouTube link, but I'm not sure. We give you both links. It's for sure to be on there. We give you the page that you can go to, and then you can click on that page. But double check to see if it's not on the YouTube link. Almost none of these performing arts companies just clearly tell you where they're going to be when. We're out in the weeds sometimes finding this stuff for you. Anyway, it's the Angelica Girls Choir, which is a long-standing. I think they've been around for like 70 years, something like that. And they promote the legacy of Kodály and Bartók, Hungarian composers, and they'll be accompanied by the Franz Liszt Chamber Orchestra with a soloist, Agnes Kovacs. They'll be doing things like Kodály's Hail Mary, John Rutter's What Sweeter Music, Adams's Cantique de Noël, la dum ba dee, la da da dee da dee dee, la dum dee dee, etc. They'll be doing some Vivaldi, a couple of arias from Handel's Messiah, some Grieg, some Mozart, some Haydn. Especially if you're not from Europe and you've never experienced an Advent concert, check this one out. Really, it's free of charge. I want to give you an extra heads up about 2 things which we will publish separate notices for tomorrow. We probably won't get around to doing our live stream about upcoming chamber music until either the end of the day, Tuesday, or sometime on Wednesday, the end of the day on Wednesday, which means that we will not in advance be telling you about these 2 other live streams tomorrow. The first of them is Music at St. Mary's Perryvale, which will be live streaming tomorrow, Tuesday, at their usual Tuesday time, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, European time, 9 in the morning on the West Coast, and 6 in the morning on the East Coast. It's the 20-year-old American prodigy, Curtis Phil Sue, from Alabama, who will be on the piano playing some Beethoven, Wagner, and Liszt. And then later in the day, the Moscow Phil at 5 o'clock European time, 11 o'clock Eastern time, and 8 o'clock in the morning Pacific time will be live streaming the Borodin Quartet, which is a really high quality quartet. This too is free of charge, although when you go to the website, you have to register your name. So we will publish written notices about that, but probably no more live streaming about it. And they'll be playing Schnittke string quartet number 3. They'll be playing a Schnittke trio and Beethoven's Grand Fugue for string quartet in B flat major, Opus 133. I wanted to make sure I mentioned those to you so you could check them out in case you're interested in them, because I won't be mentioning them again before Wednesday. Ciao for now. Subscribe to us. I've explained to you why you should. You're going to miss some of this stuff if you don't. Subscribe to us, especially on YouTube, because we would really like to monetize over there. I hope that some or any of these live stream experiences of truth and beauty created for you by living, breathing artists in the moment to share with you and other members of the audience, both physically present and remote. I hope any of this uplifts you, inspires you, or just gives you a heck of a good time.